Bill Hader, Kenan Thompson, Bobby Moynihan, with musical guests Sugar Ray, and your host Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Alright, I gotta get off, guys.
What? I have to get 20 kills with each starfighter class? I don't have a year. Ugh.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I have 26 days to do it, though.
Were you able to complete your challenges or whatever for the Last Jedi stuff?
That's what I'm talking about, Chaz. God.
Well, I just mean, whatever.
Get the net. Live in the now.
No.
Are we looking for a game? Oh, okay, cool.
No.
Never mind. Question answered. Let me just go to,
How about that picture? Oh my god, we just got blown up because I hashtag Last Jedi. I got a bunch of spam bots commenting on the post. Watch Star Wars The Last Jedi and Jumanji.
And Jumanji?
What? Are they like side by side, or do they mesh them together into one awesome movie?
Split screen? That'd be
The
so
Last
crazy.
Jumanji. Not even split screen, layered over each other. Everyone's just talking at once.
Jack Black's like,
Milking the cow.
Oh my gosh. Alright,
Luke's just chugging milk from the boob monster.
oh my god. Fantastic.
What's going on, guys?
we're a little sidetracked.
A little sidetracked. The Last Jedi came out.
Yeah, spoilers to follow. If you don't want spoilers, you better chop your ears off.
I was trying to make sure that we took a second to let people, like, so if they're, I'm like gonna try to say it as often as I can, if people are like trickling in. A lot of spoilers.
You have to pronounce it correctly, though. Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Soiler.
Are we have comments deactivated, right? So I don't have to watch my phone.
They should be. I deactivated them last time. I don't know if it stays that way.
Let me test this out.
If not,
Vinny.
then I would have to go.
Let me get some of those Last Jedi spoilers, huh, fam? Testing.
Huh, fam?
Oh, Eric and I both said testing at the same time, and it worked. So we're getting the cements right now. Test successful.
Well, I am in the opposite.
Results not optimal.
Can someone get this guy off me?
I'm in the opposite end of my. I'm not near my computer.
Or I can ram into an asteroid.
So spoilers this episode. Oh man, I love Starfighter, so I love flying these ships. I'm super good at it.
I'm gonna get a lot of deaths now that I'm the main guy. Whoa.
Yeah, you
also,
are.
I'm super crusty. It's been a minute.
You're the main guy. Oh, jeez, I'm gonna die.
So, at first I figured we'd talk about our actual, the actual movie-going, like what you did. Like
Someone farted in my theater right before the crawl.
Nice. Nice.
Will and I both started laughing. It was beautiful.
I went with Tom and Andy, and it was hilarious because Tom is hysterical, so it made it really fun. Tom is like a super nerd, and like which is like saying a lot coming from me, and it just makes anything that is nerdy super fun because he's such a geek. So that was pretty fun. We like had masks, and he brought a bunch of his like cool weapons.
Did they let you in with masks?
They let you in with masks?
No, they made him take
masks and like shotguns and stuff. That's pretty crazy.
Pulling out flares.
We had our lightsabers with us, and they're like, "Oh, you can't bring them in because they're considered like weapons." and of course, we were like, "Yeah, we know." The most dangerous weapon in the galaxy.
Cut them in half.
When I went to
And,
Die Hard
yeah.
with Chris Croce, he dressed up in full camo and a bulletproof vest and rolled around on the floor. It was so funny. Sunglasses on. And he kept saying, like, Die Hard! Shout out to Chris Croce. Anyway, we did not dress up. I wore my Star Wars Vans shoes, shout out. And my Star Wars t-shirts. Because I have multiple Star Wars t-shirts. Obviously.
Nice. That's what's up.
And my new Cowboys Star Wars hats.
Yeah, nice. Those hats are pretty cool. I wish I had them. And I don't even like the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I don't even know how to begin talking about The Last Jedi. Because
it was not very good.
It was. What did you guys think of it? Like, what?
I joined that petition to remove it from the canon. Did you see that? There's a petition out there for Disney to remove it. That's some silly stuff right there.
That is some very silly stuff. So this is where I'm coming from as far as our discussion. I haven't read anybody else's reviews. I haven't, like, I've only seen, like, little things like, oh, you know, critically acclaimed and all that nonsense, but I haven't actually, like, read, like, fans, like, comments on it, because I wanted to make my own opinion and then talk to you guys without having the bias of a bunch of other people's nonsense.
Yeah.
So, there's several things about the movie that drive me absolutely crazy. Leia's whole situation that didn't make any sense, and it really annoyed me.
Why didn't that make sense?
Yeah. Can we talk about this situation for a second?
No,
I've been thinking about that.
I don't want to.
Because she's force sensitive. She's not a force user.
Hold on, you don't know that.
Yes, I do know that.
How do you know that?
It's been wholly established.
in the old extended universe, she was a straight Jedi.
Yeah, in the extended universe, we're not in that universe. We're in this universe.
How many Force users have survived in the vacuum of space before?
That's not okay. That's
users.
Yeah,
Force users.
But she can use the Force. She spoke to Luke over the Force bond prior to that happening. What?
Yeah, but that's not.
What, Jared? I'll explain
I'm cool with her being like magical, whatever, flying through space.
Yeah.
But how about when they open the door to the vacuum of space and nothing happens?
Yeah, that part I agree with. They shoot out steam like it's an airlock.
They're like, oh yeah, let's open the door. Yeah, you just killed the entire compartment. Way to go.
They shoot out steam like it's an airlock, though. So maybe there's an airlock.
No, what? It's just a single door. She put her hand on the window. You saw it.
I saw it, but there could be an airlock in there real quick. She
literally flew through the whole space. So there's not an airlock in there, and then they opened the door.
I'm not here to. Maybe they weren't that far out of orbit. Maybe they still had.
What?
Maybe that wasn't a vacuum. Anyway, regardless, she's not just a regular Force sensitive, Chaz. That's what you're missing. She's the daughter of the chosen one of the galaxy. She's literally she's literally the last Skywalker, if you don't want to count Kylo. So, I think that she has some innate abilities. Like Harry Potter can do stuff without being able to control magic when he is in situations where he really needs to, because he's the chosen one. I think it's a similar situation. She's innately
I think it's a little silly.
Overpowered. I do think it's silly that she survived everything, but I don't think it's silly enough to have a problem with it. I think it's just like,
I just feel like
she could have died right there and it wouldn't have been a problem. But
I think it was really dumb, and it completely goes against how the Force works. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's no way in my mind. It just doesn't make any sense.
There's multiple things in the movie that we've never seen the Force do before, though. In Last Jedi as well. In Last Jedi, he catches a freaking laser bolt. That's never happened before.
Or in Empire, you mean?
No, in Last Jedi, he literally stops it in the sky. In Empire, he like palms it, but I'm talking about how Kylo freezes matter in the midair. Like that's never happened before. And Kylo's not even overpowered.
Yeah. No.
I think that I was more concerned, not concerned, but I was more confused by the fact that Yoda can have like real life tangible function in the real world without being alive. He's a Force ghost, and first of all, he creates lightning, which is manipulation of matter as a ghost, and he hits Luke with his walking stick, which is again interacting with real world tangibles without being really there. That's way crazier to me than what Leia does. Leia could be explained by the fact that she's Anakin's daughter, and that's enough for me.
Right.
I agree. I think it was just unnecessary, but the more I kind of just like let it go.
From a story perspective, it's like, why did that just happen? But from a Force perspective, we're watching a sci-fi movie. Like, I don't have a problem with saying she's using the Force. Plus, Luke does stuff we've never seen before. Literally, throughout the movie, we've seen stuff happen with the Force that has never been discussed or talked about or happened, and it's all overpowered.
That's probably one of my biggest problems in the movie is that you rewrote how the Force works.
I don't think they did. I think that the Force. I think one of the things is when we were kids was like first of all, in Empire, like it was lifting rocks and you know, pulling lightsabers out of the snow and stuff. But the Force was always like when you were playing in the backyard pretending to be a Jedi, the Force did whatever you wanted it to do. You just, you know, you could move whatever you wanted. You could jump around and fly around. Like there were no limits to what the Force could do because you've never seen these prequels that sort of limit it. And now we've seen them, but we also understand that those Jedi weren't the most powerful Jedi out there, because Anakin was, and everyone who's interacting with the Force in this movie is a Skywalker. So I don't have any problem with saying that they are more powerful.
not everyone.
You just said.
Than even like Yoda or something. Like they can they have the midichlorians to be more powerful than what we've seen on screen before. I don't have a problem with them using their imagination and coming up with new ways to use the Force.
I don't mind them coming up with new ways to use the Force as long as it stays within the rules of how the Force works. If they stay within the rules of how the Force works.
What rules though? Who wrote the rules? It's a
just the rules
fantasy
that we
world.
all know of how the Force. Like it's almost like in Harry Potter, right? Like if a squib all of a sudden like was able to start using magic in like some new book, I'd be like, well, this isn't right because that's not how magic works.
But it's not. It's nothing like that because everyone who's using the Force is still Force sensitive. It would be like if it.
No.
I don't know. I mean, they write the universe we argue about. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know. They created it.
It was just one of those moments where you kind of looked at each other like that was kind of dumb.
Yeah, I didn't look. I mean, it wasn't that I thought it was dumb. It was that I didn't understand why she survived. Because I was under the impression she wasn't going to survive the movie. So when she didn't, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Exactly. And my thing is that, like, the reason, because the issue, like, the biggest issues with me with The Last Jedi are just a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of unexplained, just a lot of unexplained things. Like, I understand why you would keep Princess
Why can't
Leia,
I pull up? Yeah.
But then, it seemed like the whole point of keeping her was to, like, balance out Poe Dameron's story. And so what irritated me about that was that we have this whole situation with Poe where he's like, oh man, I just want to get in a, fighter and shoot at stuff. And she's like, no man, that's not, you got to be a leader too.
Yeah, Poe's storyline was pretty generic. I will agree with that.
And then you have like this captain who like comes along to replace Leia while she's not feeling well. And he's like, oh, you don't have a plan. I'm just going to do what I want. If she would have just like told him, oh, I do have a plan. I have a plan. This is it. Then none of his story would have even mattered. And then not only that, but like at the end when you finally get to the point where Leia and him are having like this exchange, she's like, they all turn around and like look at her like, all right, are we supposed to go? And she's like, does that whole, they have that whole moment. She's like, what are you looking at me for? Like, listen to the new leader of the rebellion.
Even though you just demoted him in front of everyone.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, when did you, like, I missed the point where he like redeemed himself in your eyes. And then now she's like, yeah, listen to Poe. And then right after that, he does exactly what she says not to do, which is like, oh, we need to fight everyone. And then, like, I mean, eventually he's like, all right, we need to retreat. He's, like, saving his time. But still, I just, like, Poe's whole storyline just seemed a little, like, I guess I understood it. But, like, when Leia, like I said, they had that moment where she, like, handed over power to kind of him. And we saw, like, her being kind of like, I'm not the leader anymore. It was kind of like, well, I don't know. It kind of fell flat for me. I never really saw the moment where that he kind of made it better.
I didn't think that she was handing off like the keys to the rebellion or anything. I just thought that
she definitely was.
That he, had atoned for his idiocy, and she was like, all right, he's cool. But I don't think she was, handing over control. I mean, I do think that Poe was an idiot throughout the movie. I more of an idiot than his character, needs to be, and that didn't make much sense to me. But I don't think that I thought of Leia at the end saying, what are you looking at me for? Follow this guy, as like, all right, this guy's your new leader now, and I'm nobody.
Right. Well, I mean, I was thinking of it as
I'm getting killed.
I was thinking of it as we have to try to think about what's coming next for Star Wars. And clearly the only way that you can follow up The Last Jedi is with going into the future. So the next movie has to be set at least 5 to 10 years after this movie. That's the only way the next movie can work.
Yeah, I didn't get that impression at all either. Only because Leia's not going to be in it? Is that the only reason?
No, because the reasons are that, like, if you look at where the Resistance is, there's literally, like, 5 of them left.
Oh, yeah, they're toast. Ship. But I don't think that means you fast forward.
I think you have to fast forward, because you have to explain how the Resistance rebuilt itself. You have to explain how Kylo is even villain worth worrying about.
Remember they put out that call, like, what if more people answer the call and they're
people are still around. They just didn't want to come to Crate and die.
No, there's the only way that you could continue this story is if you push it into the future. It's the only way, because the reason, like, another one of my big issues with The Last Jedi is The Force Awakens left us with like 1,000 questions. The Last Jedi The Last Jedi, well, all of them got erased. Like, most of them were just thrown away. And then, like,
I
don't think I agree with that either.
Like, Snoke, who cares now? Nobody cares. Care about Snoke.
I do think that
Snoke's still alive, boy.
Oh, Jared's wrong about that.
God.
I do think that Snoke was always a wuss, but I think that was more The Last Jedi throwing you a curveball than I almost said Talking Sith. I mean, that's more Force Awakens throwing you a curveball than Last Jedi, like, screwing you over. I think Force Awakens was here to show you, look at this big bad guy, and really he's a weakling who can manipulate you to feel like he's not, but in the end of the day, he's nothing. So I don't think that was Last Jedi changing Snoke.
I didn't get that impression at all. I got the impression that Snoke was like potentially one of the most powerful villains that we've ever been able to encounter in the Star Wars universe, and he was
that's what they wanted you to think. But I mean, Snoke was never like I don't know. I never thought he was OP. I think he was projecting himself onto this huge hologram, to have an appearance of being overpowered, but he got wrecked. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts that he was gonna get Shrek'd.
But he, like, was tossing. I don't know. Oh god, I don't know. Snoke.
You mean like flicking her around the room and stuff?
I mean, not only that, but like and this is what I mean. Like, Last Jedi is throwing out a lot of stuff that we know to be constants. So, like, the only time we ever see people using Force lightning is like people who are at the absolute height of being at the dark side. Like, the only time we see Force lightning being used are by people who are clearly very, very powerful. Snoke uses Force lightning like almost like it was no big deal, which should give us the indication that he's extremely powerful. So like this is the issue that I have with The Last Jedi, is like that's what I mean is by they're throwing away the rules of Star Wars, which is like there are these things that we know in Star Wars to be constants, and then you're using them and then throwing them away.
Wait, hold on though. Am I just forgetting? But I don't remember him using Force lightning.
Yeah, there was a point where Kylo was like kind of like.
Oh yeah, he just zaps him. Yeah, I do remember that.
And he literally just throws out Force lightning and like, pushes him back.
I'm not saying that Snoke wasn't powerful in the Force. I'm saying that he was underpowered as a person, and he's obviously clearly powerful in the Force if he can, you know, make people see what he wants them to see. He can flick them around and stuff. But I don't think he's very strong as like a person or a leader or you know a villain, because he's wrapped up in whatever his own plans are. Which is what eventually undid Palpatine too. Palpatine didn't really do anything that powerful other than in Revenge of the Sith. But once he got all weak and stuff, he didn't really do anything ever again. Except zap Luke when Luke wasn't even fighting back. That's the other thing, is that no one who fought Snoke was fighting back when he was hurting them. When he was flicking Rey around the room, Rey was just taking it because that wasn't the reason she was there. When he was zapping Kylo, Kylo's not gonna, you know, fight back. He's just a dog at that point. So I think that Snoke, unlike Palpatine, we never saw Snoke go toe to toe with another powerful Force user. And so I don't think we ever got a full scale of Snoke's power. I think that we saw that he can manipulate what people see and sort of, you know, what they think and all that. But I don't think that has much to do with anything other than manipulation. I think the whole point of Snoke was manipulation.
And that's what I mean. It's like wasted opportunity. You wasted an opportunity to have a really, really great lightsaber battle or some sort of battle between either Kylo and Snoke or Rey and Snoke or Luke and Snoke. Like, you just it got kind of ruined. And like I said, like, even though we're like, oh, you know, he was a Force user, who cares now at this point? He's dead. There's no point.
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Yeah,
he's not going to shut up, Jared.
He's never going to be back. So it's like, you know,
I don't think that
you have this character who, like, well, there was build up for him.
But that's the whole point.
And now he doesn't matter.
What do you? But that's literally his entire point in the series, though, is to be.
But I'm just saying that he could have been such a great character.
Right, but so you can be disappointed that he didn't end up being a better person or something. But that doesn't mean that he's a like weak character. He's just not what you wanted him to be. My whole thing was the first time I saw Last Jedi rather. I actually didn't like it that much. And the only reason was because we had talked about it for so long going up to it. I just had this impression that it was going to be super duper dark, and there was going to be such a somber mood and tone to it. And then, other than the first like space fight, which was really cool, the first probably third of the movie was just silly. Like, there was a lot of jokes that didn't have to be in there and a lot of silliness, and I really didn't like the casino planet, and I wanted to, and I just thought that there was so much that happened that didn't need to happen. They could have made it super dark and somber. And then I watched it again, and because I wasn't anticipating it being dark and somber, I wasn't as disappointed in the first part of the movie. I will say that up until Yoda shows up, I especially the first time, I didn't think I liked it that much. But after Yoda showed up, the rest of the movie's a 9 out of 10 easy. I mean, it's one of the better ones.
It's so funny because I would say that, like, honestly, anything after the first hour and a half I hated.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't be more of the opposite. And I mean, there are things I didn't like about it, but it's just so funny that the things that you didn't like about it are things that I hadn't even thought about as issues. And the things that I didn't like about it are things you did.
I think my issue is that I spent the last like 2 years
trying to figure out stuff.
Like,
but that's the whole point.
Every single, like, not just Star Wars, like whatever, but like books and this and that, and trying to create this tie. And what happened was, I went into the movie and I literally all the things that happened in my head, because like a lot of people are like, oh, you had these expectations and they didn't get met, and it was almost the exact opposite. I guessed 90% of how the movie was gonna go, and guessed almost like perfectly on the nose. So it was almost more frustrating that like the things I was right about, I was like, well, I didn't want to be right about that, and then the things I like was wrong about, I was like, well, that was dumb. So like it was just kind of like. And it's not to say that I didn't enjoy the movie, because in the experience, sitting and watching the movie, it was fun. It was a fun experience. Like there was like genuine moments where like I jumped out of my seat and was like, oh hell yeah, like this is dope. Like it was really good. Like the battle between, you know, Kylo, Rey, and the like guards was amazing. Like that was one of the best fights that I've seen in a Star Wars movie. And Rey went super hard. Like that was amazing, and I really enjoyed that. And so there were moments, not to mention like when Yoda showed up, like I had a genuine moment of like, oh my god, this is awesome, and like gasped. And, yeah, it was awesome. Like I mean I love Yoda, and so that was fun to see. And there was things in the movie that were fun, but then there was Luke. And he just...
I can't believe how bad you're messing up right now. I'll tell you what, I know you said you didn't read anything, like any other reviews or anything like that, but I read an article after I saw it, that it was probably like 2 pages long, and it was, Rian Johnson doesn't care what you think about Star Wars or something like that, and, and it was all about people like you, who I honestly hadn't heard anyone react like you have, who... love Star Wars and really didn't like it because it wasn't what they wanted Star Wars to be. And I know after you saw it, you texted me and you said like it was okay, I just don't know where it fits in with the Star Wars storyline. And that's what the whole article had to do with. It was like it knows where you think it's going to go. Like it has this idea of you having an anticipation of how the story is going to go, and it takes a 90-degree turn on purpose. And I think that a lot of people found that jarring, myself included, with just the overall tone, but there's so much that happens that, you know, is totally unexpected.
I don't
because
know if that's my issue. I think my issue is more, like I said, I had no issue, like, it was almost like with the prequels. Like, I genuinely... like know that people have like legitimate issues with the prequels that I can completely understand. However, in the prequels, even though there were moments that fell flat, I never disagreed with those moments. I always thought to myself like, oh, okay, I understand why
that's
they
what
would
I mean.
make these choices.
Right, that's what the article is about. It's about how like Star Wars was originally about, you know, changing what people thought about movies like it, and here is this movie changing what you think about Star Wars and what Star Wars can and can't be. And I think that like when you're describing like it, you know, it changes how the Force works, like the laws of the Force, like a lot of that is, you know, spectacle and showing you something that you haven't seen on screen before, but a lot of it is also wanting you to go into, especially episode 9, I think, having zero clue what's about to happen. And, you know, Force Awakens, a lot of people thought it was too predictable. Terrible.
Like, I don't know. Like,
but I don't think they're objectively terrible. I don't think there were parts that were that bad.
Situation, like, Luke's whole thing, like, his last fight scene made me so angry.
Wow.
That I
don't know that I could disagree with you more.
Completely baffled. Because, like, he completely showed himself to just be a, like, I just don't understand it. Like, at least give me an explanation as to why he couldn't show up, right? To make him at least redeemed in some way. Because at no point in time did Luke redeem himself to me. Because I'm like, yeah, you had this, like, moment with Kylo and all that, but it's like, why would they do that? Why would they waste a fight?
Wait, how is he supposed to get there?
Like, why not?
How is he supposed to get there?
All my thinking is, we should have gotten a scene where Luke was gonna like get in his X-wing, try to start it up, something like that, and then we see the X-wing like not able to take off. Like we see the X-wing like not able to like move, and then it just cuts back to Crate, right? So we don't know if Luke made it off the planet or not. Then we see Luke there. So we don't know, did he get off the planet or is he there some other way? So then, by the time we get to the end and we know finally, like, oh, it was him projecting himself, he wasn't able to get...
X-Wing.
Yeah, they showed it underwater.
They showed it underwater, but what I'm saying is, like, to me, it just was really frustrating to see, like, Luke not...
You didn't feel like that was really cool to see how powerful he was? Like,
yeah, I thought that was, like, the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I thought that was, the fact that he's... That showed that he's, like, the ultimate master of the Force. That, like, literally untouched by anyone else in Star Wars canon.
I don't know. I really didn't like it.
I get why you're frustrated, because you spent all this time trying to figure it out, and then, like, Snoke just dies.
It wasn't even that. It was just like, there was no good parts. Like, there was just no parts that I can say, that I can, like,
I don't feel it.
When Luke showed up, first of all, I knew from the word go that he wasn't really there. So I wasn't, like, disappointed to find out that he wasn't. You know what I mean? Because
I had no clue.
I could tell that he wasn't there. And then
I was like, oh, he cut his hair.
Yeah, he's like 20 years younger, and he has the saber that we just saw break in half. And he's skinny. Yeah. Like, he's clearly not there. And then when they're fighting and Kylo swipes his foot on the salt and you see the red come out, you don't see Luke's foot do that. So I was like, all right, he's clearly force projecting. And then it just didn't seem like it was... I hadn't thought about it, like, why didn't he just go? But, I mean, it doesn't bother me that he doesn't. It's not less redeeming to the fact that he... You know, he had to get there in a hurry, too. Like, we're talking about crossing, you know, a system, and that's not, like, a 5-minute trip. So, I mean, I guess there's logical reasons you could say that he didn't go, but that wasn't, like, a problem to me. I understand, like, why in the movie he didn't go, and, like, why they didn't send him there. He was too far away and all that nonsense.
You're just saying you wish that they would have made
it just didn't make sense to me why, if you're gonna take Luke out, finally, of the Star Wars universe...
Oh, see, I don't think he's gone at all. He absorbed himself into the Force like any other Jedi who's done that.
Yoda's still around, Qui-Gon's still around, all these people.
Obi-Wan,
you know, I get it. But my thinking is, like, I don't know. It just felt like a wasted battle. Like, they barely fought. It like could have been this, like, epic,
I think that the whole point of the movie, like, there's a lot of points in the movie where they talk about hubris and overconfidence and arrogance, and I think that battle showed the ultimate arrogance on Kylo Ren's part, where he's making a terrible military decision to leave his, you know, his craft and let the people that he's chasing down get away, just so he can fight his uncle that he has this big beef with. And Luke's showing, look, like, I'm not even here. And you know, that's on you for being an idiot.
Final teaching lesson.
Right. I think that he couldn't have gotten that point across if he was there just murking him with a lightsaber. I think he was wasting his time and toying with him, and the fact that he can use the Force to do that is unmatched by any other Jedi we've seen, or Sith, or anything. So I thought... Jared's convinced that Snoke died as a force projection, which is ridiculous. But no, I think that, you know, he couldn't have gotten that point across by being there, and it was just the ultimate, like, buy time, while at the same time teaching Kylo this last lesson and teaching people a lesson in general. Like, Rey's gonna hear that story, and she's gonna know that arrogance is not the answer. Like, that's something Yoda would have done. If Yoda could have had the power to do that against Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, he would have. He's just not that powerful. But Yoda would be like, and, like, not actually there in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. So I thought it was, I thought that was one of the coolest things Star Wars has ever done. Not because it was a swerve, but because it showed ultimate mastery of the Force and wisdom on Luke's part to show him that hubris and that arrogance that Snoke was so confident with when Kylo murked him was the wrong thing to have. And I think Kylo is going to take that to the bank at this point and not be so stupid next time. But I thought it was amazing. And then when he said, what did he say? Like, if you strike me down, blah blah blah. Like, all that stuff. I thought it was perfect. I honestly had zero qualms with the movie post The Force Cave scene when you see all the infinite rays in a row.
Oh my god, that was terrible as well.
Holy shit! Everything there and thereafter, I had zero questions about.
There was no explanation. She went down in a hole, saw herself like a million times, and then came back up out of the hole. It didn't even do any service to the actual storyline.
What are you talking about? I think that you're looking at it too superficially, maybe, because I mean, the Force Cave in Empire is basically the same thing. It's Luke realizing that, you know, you're fighting yourself first of all, but also like the person you're fighting is closer to you than maybe you realize, and really you're your own greatest enemy. Like, there's so many layers to pull back, and I think that Rey is looking for these answers, and the whole point is that she finds them in herself, and that you know, she can be tempted by these things, and she doesn't need, they're not the important thing. And Luke went through something similar in Empire. I thought that was really cool too. And then everything after that, like I said, zero problems with the movie after that point. Up until that point, there was a lot of stuff where I was like Jared calls it the vegan storyline. Like, the vegan part is like, whatever. And like all the stuff on the casino planet, I was like, this is so stupid. And like, there was stuff up until that point, and you were saying that Poe's storyline is kind of worthless, and I was saying that Finn's storyline was really worthless. Like, Finn's a great character, and he doesn't do a single thing in the whole movie. But Rey and Luke have, like, to me, maybe the best storyline in a long time in a Star Wars movie. So I don't know that
I agree with maybe Rey, but Luke I just can't get on board with. It was the whole thing. It was the entire film. It was just like, he was like, even from the moment where he was going to be like that. I mean, I knew he was going to be crafty.
Right, he was going to be crusty.
But like I said, at no point in time did he ever redeem himself for me. Like,
what are you talking about? Yoda showed up. Yoda showed up after Rey left, and said, you know, nothing about this is important.
Rey says,
and then Luke shows up in you know, as a force protection, because Yoda showed him that nothing matters. And I think that, you know, he was too caught up on his personal guilt and his personal feelings about Kylo and all this stuff, but he didn't realize that none of that matters in the long run. And
I think for me, I was kind of done with Luke after Rey found that it was going to be easier to go to somebody who was completely sold over to the dark side and turn them to the light than turn somebody who was already on the light side, was a Jedi, all this stuff, and like,
that's exactly what Luke did.
That's like what I'm saying is, like, it's to her now. That's
like word for word what Luke did.
That was Yoda's message. That was Yoda's message. He's like, you may have failed, but you need to learn from your mistakes.
Right.
And go help Rey out. Because you may have lost Ben, but you haven't lost Rey yet. So.
Right. I think that the only difference between that part and what Luke did with leaving Yoda when Yoda didn't want him to was that Kylo's truly irredeemable, whereas Luke left, you know, for a good reason, we found out. But Kylo's not coming back, and Rey didn't know that because she had seen, you know, this manipulation. But I don't think that, like, Luke was crotchety. The only thing Luke did that I had any problem with at all was the boob thing. that was the stupidest thing in the movie. But other than that, everything Luke did was 10 out of 10 to me. Like, if the movie had been 3 hours of him and Rey, then I would have been stoked.
You didn't like how it ended, Chaz? Like,
I did not like how it ended.
Oh man,
I thought it was dumb to end it with a little boy. I just didn't. And that's how I also know it's going to be set years after this one. It's like they clearly are like pointing.
You're looking at it on the surface, though. They're just showing hope. They're not showing this guy is going to be the hero of the next trilogy. Yeah. They're just showing that there's hope.
That's not what I'm thinking at all. What I'm thinking is that there's like, it's just symbolism, like, towards the future. Not that this kid is going to be like the next Jedi, but that like, it's just symbolism saying like there's more like to come, like, after this. There's more going forward. There were things that, like I said, there were things about the movie that I genuinely did enjoy and genuinely did like.
Well,
but there were just things about the movie. I mean, like I said, I loved just... first off, I love the actual... Kylo's story, to me, was the most interesting. And I mean, obviously, that makes sense for me. But the thing I liked most about the story was how, because to me, and like I said, I might have watched it differently than how someone else might have watched it, but to me, if anything, the story was mostly just how powerful the dark side actually is, and how, and I thought it was very interesting watching Kylo's descent farther into the dark side. And
yeah, he was kind of the opposite of Luke from the original trilogy. I thought Kylo had the coolest storyline too. I agree with that.
I thought Kylo's storyline was really awesome, and I really liked those scenes between him and Rey, and getting to like see like a little bit more of his like motivations for things, and you know, to me he became a little bit more like Vader in this one, except in that last scene where he was like, you know, going crazy. But like you know, there was just moments to me. Yeah. There was just moments to me where he like really shined through. Like even that moment at the end where he's like has that stance and he's like just shaking with rage, and you can kind of see like a little bit of reflection off of his eyes. It just reminded me so much of that moment where, you know, Obi-Wan finally bests, you know, Anakin, and Anakin's like, I hate you, and you know, you see his eyes glowing and it's just pure rage. Like when I saw that moment, I immediately like thought of Anakin in his moment, and I'm like, oh man, he is becoming very much like Vader, and this is kind of his like Vader moment where like this is his turn, like this is his, like he's been flirting with the dark side, but now this is his push fully over to what.
Do you think he was telling Rey the truth about her parents?
I think he was. I think he was.
Then how do you explain them communicating all the time then?
Well, because we've already seen that it doesn't matter if you're related, you can still be able to sense other Jedis and other Force sensitive
people. Well, sense, but like talk like that.
Well, because like Adam also said, like we've never seen the Force really be used in this way other than with Luke and Leia, and they kind of not even communicate; they just can sense each other. But other Jedi can do that with each other too. So we've never seen this side of the Force be used. My thing, the reason why I don't think that they could possibly like, there's no way Rey could be a Skywalker. The only reason why I don't think she is because if I can forgive all these things that I find wrong with Luke, the one thing I won't be able to forgive is that there had to be somebody who knew. Han had a chance to tell her. Leia had a chance to tell her. Kylo had a chance to tell her. Luke had a chance to tell her. They all didn't tell her that she was Skywalker.
Leia only had one chance to tell her. Leia hasn't had a chance to tell her since we last saw Force Awakens. They haven't seen each other.
So we strike Leia from that. Fine, we can take Leia off that list.
I think Leia's the only one who knew.
Then you still have... I don't think that's true. I think because if we know all these people, like the thing is like Leia and Luke could sense that they were siblings. Now, if these people are supposed to be way strong, we see Leia pull herself.
They couldn't really. They could sense it, but they could put words to it. Like they knew.
Leia knew.
She said, "I've kind of known," but she like if you had said, "Hey, who's your brother?" She'd have to be like, "I don't think I have one." Like it's not because.
Okay, so even if Leia's like the only one who knows, I'm telling you, like they're supposed to be Force sensitive enough that like we're seeing the Force used in all these tremendous ways. There is no way that you don't know this chick's your sister. And even if you do know and you're not going to say anything,
well, he's lying.
Time to say something. No, why lie? Why lie? Why not tell her? That's my thing. Because then she had a moment. No, he had a moment to tell her, like, listen, why would she not join him? That would have been the perfect moment to do so.
Because he killed her dad then.
Yeah, she watched him kill Han.
Why would she be like, why'd you kill Dad?
The thing is that even though he killed Han, like, Rey's whole thing is family. She just wants to belong. She just wants to have
there are two possibilities here. And only two. One, Kylo knows, and he lied because he's either too ashamed, or he knows she won't turn, or it's more useful for him to lie because it's useful for him to not know and still have that angst inside of her. Or Snoke input the image in both of their heads that she came from nobody, in an effort to lie to both of them.
You said
It doesn't
Snoke's
behoove.
not that powerful.
I said he's that manipulative, though. He can obviously make people think what he wants them to think. I think that
there would have been no better moment to tell Rey that she is related to him than when he wanted her to come with him.
I disagree.
Why not say? Because he killed Han, right? Like, no, my thinking is he killed Han. She
was already upset about
Luke. Yeah, she was upset, but she left Luke to go find him, to try to turn him to the light side, even knowing that he had killed Han. Even with that information, she still went to go. If she really didn't like him that much for killing Han, why would she try to turn him over still trying to put effort to turn somebody who was already on the light side of the Force? Why go and do it if she was so upset about Han? Like, I understand she was upset about Han, but to me, the moment where Kylo could have gotten her and brought her completely to his side and said, like, even though my intentions don't seem pure, I'm your brother. Like, let me show you how the Force works. Like, we're related. That moment, she was vulnerable. He could have reached out to her with that information. Instead, he, like, chose to hurt her with a lie. That doesn't make sense to me.
Like I said, I think it's either that he doesn't know himself, which I think is likely, or he does know and doesn't see any reason to tell her. I think that you're right in saying that they're. I don't think that's possible. I think I think that she. You're right that he doesn't have a good reason not to tell her there, but he also doesn't have any reason to tell her there. And I think that you know, especially if you know, Snoke's been that manipulative this whole. How did I crash this whole time? I think that, you know, Kylo's used to being manipulated and wanting to be on his own. His whole thing is that he severs ties that matter to him. So he severs ties with his dad. He severs ties with his mom. He severs ties with Luke. Like, he says, like, you got to kill those things. They can't matter to you. If they matter to you, you're weak. So, like, there's no reason for Kylo, selfishly, there's no reason for him to tell her the truth, because he doesn't want that connection. If he is lying, it's also very possible that he just straight doesn't know.
Once again, even then, he could have said, because if he knows, and he didn't tell her, like, even then, and you're, like, saying, like, oh, he wanted to be able to, like, sever and let the past die, what better way to do that than to say, like, listen, I'm your brother and I don't care about you. I don't care what happens to you. If you want to go, you can go, like, but if you want to join me, I'm here. Like, that's severing the tie.
I think he hurt her the most he possibly could. Like, the worst thing he could possibly have done to her was what he did. And that's how he's severed the ties before. He severed the tie with Leia by hurting her more than anyone could have hurt her. He severed the tie with Han by literally killing him, because the only thing that matters to Han is that. But
to me, that doesn't make sense, because, like, what hurts more? Knowing you have somebody out there who's related to you and now they're taken away from you, or being told, like, oh, they're really nobodies, and you're like, oh, well, I guess they're
for
just
Rey,
for
Rey, I think it's thinking that you're nobody. Just because of who Rey is as a character. But, I mean, I can agree that there's just too much stuff showing that they've got to be related. They can talk, like Jared said, they can talk about the Force. They can pull, they're equally matched when they both pull on the lightsaber. That's never happened before. They have the dice,
but that doesn't mean that they're related.
I mean, they're equally matched. They're siblings. The only other people that could possibly be equally matched would be Leia and Luke.
So say if Kylo didn't know, that's whatever. Leia didn't know, that's whatever. But
no, Leia knew, I think.
Like, Luke is supposed to be so powerful. There's no way that he could not have known that this was his niece, or that this Force sensitive. Related to it.
Right. Luke was shut off from the Force. He couldn't sense anything. He couldn't sense Chewie. He couldn't sense the Falcon. He couldn't sense that Han was dead.
How do you explain her still having a memory of being dropped off at Jakku? She was old enough to remember it, which means she spent time with her family.
She could have been with somebody else if they were trying to protect her. We've talked about that before. And also, the ship that drops her off is identical to the ships that show up on Crate. It's the same ship. There's just too much there. The dice, the two dice tied together by a string. There's the fact that they can talk over the Force.
So this is my thing.
There's the fact that they pull on the lightsaber.
If they're siblings, it's fine. That's perfectly fine if they're siblings. But then it completely, it completely ruins the Skywalkers for me. Because to me, that means that they're all liars.
Dude, you're so
all liars at that point.
You're so angry.
There's no way none of them don't know. Because there's no way none of them don't know. And if one of them knows, why didn't anyone say something?
I think Han had an inkling and didn't have time to tell her. I think that by the time Han could have told her, she was already gone. What do you mean it's not good enough? I think Leia knows.
That's not good enough of an explanation.
I think Leia is totally aware. And no, not forgot. I think he started to get an idea, but by then it was too late. And he doesn't know for sure because I think he doesn't know he has another kid that Leia lied to him. I think Leia knows and is straight up hasn't told her yet.
Hoping that she's
and I don't think Luke knew.
That's the other thing. Just going off of, because that's the thing. People saying like, "Oh, she was pregnant twice." Okay, so just going off that, if you, like I said, if you read the Aftermath series, if you read the book Bloodline, and if you read the new book about Leia, at no point in time did she have time. That entire series completely fills in the gap of when she was at the end of Return and all the way up to The Force Awakens. Not once was she pregnant twice. She was pregnant one time.
Right, but she could have been pregnant.
And this is the thing. But I'm saying her whole storyline was filled in. So you're like something must be missing.
Well, no, I'm just saying that was she pregnant with Kylo in that storyline?
Yes, she was, and there was no time. There was no time frame. Like the only way it could work was if she was pregnant for like 6 months.
Well, no, I think that it's possible that there's a time frame. I mean, I guess I have to read it. I'm not going to argue about something I haven't read, but I would imagine without having read it that it's possible that there's a time not mentioned in the book, or that she hid it like Padme. Padme hid it from literally everybody.
Right.
I just don't think it's that far-fetched to think that Leia knew she was pregnant, knew that Ben might be turning dark, hid the pregnancy from Han and everybody, and then dropped the kid off to protect the kid. Everything would be just like what happened to her and Luke. That's exactly what happened to them.
I would just be incredibly disappointed if Rey was a Skywalker. It would just be such a disappointing.
You'd be happier if she was no one?
Yes, I think that's a much better. I think because it's like, to me, it's like because you're making your own fate. To me, that's almost like because like the thing is, Anakin was no one. Like he's the start of the Skywalker.
But Anakin was a manifestation of the Force. Like you can't be that twice.
But what I'm saying is, isn't that much more interesting? Like I'm not saying she's a manifestation of the Force, but I'm saying like being from nobody is much more interesting than having this like lineage that we know about. To be
I would be really bummed if she was no one.
I think it would be much better if she was nobody.
No, I think that she could be nobody, but I think that there's too many reasons that she can't be. She's too strong. She's too naturally strong without training. She can fly like nobody's business. She can speak Wookiee. There's the dice on the string. There's the vision of the ship that's the same exact ship on Crate. There's the fact that they can talk over the Force. Like, there's too many reasons that she literally can't be anyone but his sibling. Too many.
Yeah, because I mean, like, Snoke said he was the one that was, like, tying them together through the Force, but then he's supposedly dead, and they have that vision at the end. Well, not vision, but that connection at the end.
Erica actually just posted, it's possible that whoever her parents were pretending to be junk traders, which is another thing. They could have dropped her off with some Obi-Wan type hermit to watch over her, who, got killed and thrown in this grave.
And why is that guy there if she's no one?
Right, there's too much. I'll tell you for sure. She's not no one.
Why would Leia get rid of her?
Just like Luke and Leia, you got to get them as far away from the dark side influences as possible. I think that
then that makes me extremely disappointed in the Skywalkers. So that's what I'm saying. Either way, if she is a Skywalker, fine. But then that's like, you let me down. You didn't do what Jedi do, and that's what makes me so upset.
That's exactly what they did to Luke and Leia. It's identical. They put her on this faraway planet.
One of the biggest downfalls of the Jedi is thinking that they can control how people are going to turn out by separating them, removing them, or bringing them closer.
But that's not why they did it. They did it to hide them from Vader. Like, there's no other purpose to hiding Luke and Leia except to get them away from Vader. Like, it's not about making them turn out good or turn out bad. It's just about protecting them from Vader. And Leia might have been doing that to protect her from Kylo or to protect her from Snoke because Snoke had already turned Kylo. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I think, if anything, it's less far-fetched than any alternative.
I don't know. I feel like if she was a Skywalker, someone would have told her at this point. And if they haven't,
I'm with you. Like, it wouldn't make sense that she wouldn't know for this long, but
it just
so does her
doesn't
not being
seem like
anyone.
it doesn't seem like it just doesn't seem like it would make much sense to me.
I just don't think you can explain their connection any other way, or like.
Or anything about her. The fact that she can touch Luke's saber. There's too much that's directly related to what is going on.
The Falcon, like,
right, the Falcon, speaking Wookiee, the fact that she touches Luke's saber in Force Awakens. Like, throw out Last Jedi and what it made you think. If you took Last Jedi out of the equation, what does Force Awakens make you think about Rey? The fact that she touches Luke's saber and it speaks to her, the fact that it calls to her in the first place,
even at the end of Force Awakens, I still didn't think she was a Skywalker. Like, to me, she just can't be, because to me, it's just bad. It's just bad storytelling. Like, why would you make her a like? I just don't get it. It just, to me, it just, I don't see the appeal of it, because I'm like, you know what? I get it. Skywalkers are awesome, this and that and the other, but like, it just seems like it's lazy. It's like it's so easy. It's too easy. It's like it's almost too low-hanging fruit. Like, I just don't like the idea of it. To me, it's like, why make her a Skywalker? What's the point? Like,
to have a conflict. I think that the low-hanging fruit would be that if he was like, I'm your brother, and she's like, oh, okay, well then you should turn good, and he was like, oh, okay, I'll do that then. That would be the low-hanging fruit.
That's why I don't think they're siblings. Because I'm like, that's like, I think it's more. I think it gives it more weight if there is no family attachment. If they come to this decision where one of them has to kill the other, and it's purely based off of good and bad, and has nothing to do with their lineage, to me that weighs more. And it's heavier.
If she is literally nobody, and she's this powerful in the Force, and this adept at everything I had mentioned, then I would be as disappointed in that as you are in The Last Jedi, because that doesn't make any sense. That just pulls it out of thin air. That's the lazy storytelling. That's just saying, well, you know, anyone can be Force sensitive. Anakin doesn't really matter because Anakin was really strong, so we can make someone else really strong too. Like, Anakin was a once in a lifetime, once in a millennia type situation. Like, you can't have two Anakins. And the fact that anyone else is strong after Anakin probably means that they come from somewhere close to him. And I think that there are other Force sensitives, but look at people like Plo Koon. Palpatine's before Anakin. I'm saying since Anakin, and also Anakin's far more powerful than Palpatine. But anyone post Anakin who's worth their salt in terms of power is a Skywalker. Even pre-Anakin, you look at someone like Mace Windu or Plo Koon or Ki-Adi-Mundi or, you know, Aayla Secura or all these Jedi that get murked. They get wrecked by clones. Like, if they were, you know, crazy powerful, they should have sensed what was coming. The only one who had a chance to survive was Yoda, and that's only because he's wise and insane. Like, it's just a little bit. It's a little bit.
I don't know.
It's too crazy.
I see why you're like so depressed about it and like not happy with the movie, but I think you got to realize that the story's not over either. Like, this is just the middle.
I think the issue is that when I left The Force Awakens, I thought to myself, man, I can't wait for the next episode. When I left this one, I thought to myself, what the hell did they just do to this episode? So it was like, I just didn't have that same feeling of like, wow, this really like, I really like, and like I said, it wasn't that I disagreed with how the story went. I just think the way that they told it didn't make any sense to me. And it's like, like I said, the way the story itself, I can get on board with. It's like, all right, you know what? If you want to use the Force in this way, if you want to do this, if you want to do that, fine. But the way that you did it didn't make sense to me. And like I said, I just wasn't okay with some of the ways that they just dropped the ball. With like I said, there was just so many missed opportunities. I understand that this whole thing's like, oh, they're Force users and this, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? At the end of the day, I want to see a movie. And I want to see a good movie. And I want to see a movie with, like, action and this and that and the other. And it's like, you have one good fight scene, that's it. Like, that's, like, the only good scene that we've seen.
Whoa, dude. What about Poe's scene? You didn't think that was good? Or, like, Luke's scene? I guess we already talked about that. You didn't like Luke's
scene. It was lame, dude. He didn't do anything. He literally like brushed his shoulder off like Jay-Z and then did the lean back like freaking Fat Joe, and that was it.
That was sick. He spun out of that thing like completely off balance.
But he wasn't even really there, so it's not that impressive.
That's the most impressive part.
It's the opposite for me. I'm like, go there, fight him. Like I want to see a real fight.
Yeah, that's
you
the
wasted
problem.
Kylo versus Luke.
I see what you mean. You wish they would have made the story so he could have been there and had that showdown. But,
yeah,
I don't know. I was okay with that.
Kylo versus Luke is gone. Luke versus Snoke is gone. Kylo versus Snoke is gone.
Well, yeah, anyone versus Snoke is gone because Snoke got wrecked.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they completely wasted these amazing
you guys just
lightsaber duels and lightsaber battles. You know, like these things could have been amazing scenes in the movie.
But I think that's the point, is to show you that you can be this thing and do it this way and still buck your expectations. I think that this movie was intended to come out of left field for everyone who saw Force Awakens. Like, everyone who saw Force Awakens had this feel good, you know, I love Star Wars again, that was everything I wanted it to be type feel, or, you know, they thought it was too similar to New Hope. But there was no one who came out of Force Awakens and said, like, that wasn't a Star Wars movie. There's people coming out of this saying that was, like, not Star Wars, that was something else. And
I like Rogue One better than I like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and
I mean, I wasn't into it. I just couldn't get into it, and it wasn't that. And like I said, it wasn't the story choices they made. It was how they decided to tell that story.
Yeah,
and it
you're the first Star Wars fan I know in real life that doesn't like it, which is cool to know, because I know a lot of people on the internet who are Star Wars fans are like, I don't like it, and I can't understand how. So it's nice to hear why you don't like it.
It's funny because you're the, like, everyone I've talked to, because like I said, I haven't read anything on the internet. I've been just talking to people in real life, and everyone I've talked to is that either said it's like not their favorite, or they're just like me and they flat out just really aren't digging it.
Yeah, so it's one of my favorites. Post Rey showing up in the cave. Everything after that, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And I think because of the fact that it's like it's so different, because it wants you to understand, like, forget what you think you know. This is the new Star Wars. I will say that the Rian Johnson direction that you don't like about it did make me less stoked than I already wasn't very stoked, but I'm less excited now about Rian Johnson doing a whole trilogy than I was before seeing Last Jedi.
I am so scared about him doing a trilogy now. Now I'm really scared, because I don't want a trilogy from him. I really don't. I trusted him, and he completely bungled the whole thing. But see,
I think that he showed that there are different types of love for Star Wars. I think sometimes we get into this thing where we all love Star Wars on Talking Sith kind of the same way. Like, we love the prequels, even though most people would make fun of us for loving the prequels. Or we love, you know, George Lucas, and a lot of people don't. And I think that sometimes we get into this sort of tunnel of agreement that is, you know, hard to break out of. And the internet is not that place. And I think that The Last Jedi was designed for that tunnel just to go away. Like, anyone who hated Force Awakens might either hate Last Jedi or love Last Jedi. Like, and anyone who loved Force Awakens might either hate it or love it. So I mean, there's no middle ground there for people, even people who agreed before. And I think that's part of the point of it being so jarring. I really like it. I'm really stoked about it. I am excited to see it again, and, you know, keep noticing new things, but
I'll definitely see it again. And I mean, and as far as, like, you know, it's a Star Wars movie, so it's still, like, I found that, like, with the, like, you know, I was talking to someone even today, like, with the prequels, being a Star Wars fan, like, you've had to learn to take the good with the bad. Like, you pull from it what makes sense, and, like, the stuff that's kind of crappy, you're like, well, this is just kind of how it is. And
if you want to watch Star Wars, this is the only way to do it.
Exactly. So, like, The Last Jedi, for me, when I go and watch my marathon, will I skip The Last Jedi? No, never. I'll always make sure I watch it, and I'll probably watch it just as many times as I've watched every other Star Wars movie, because to me, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship with Star Wars. It's like, you know, I'm invested into this 100%. Like, this is not just what I love, it's become a part of who I am. and like how I even go about my day, like my daily decisions, even sometimes are affected by my love of Star Wars. So, like, I'll never just write off a movie completely and be like, oh, I'm never gonna see this Star Wars movie and I'm done with Star Wars. And like this trilogy for me, and like even the people who say like it needs to be stricken from the canon, I don't agree with that, because I think it's up to us to decide what's canon and what's not.
The story's not over yet either.
And the story's not over, and we're not the writers. And even though I would love to be the writer, I'm not. So I just have to kind of accept that and take what they give me. But like I said, you know, on the other end of it, I do have my criticisms, and it's gonna take me a while to like with the prequels. It took me a while to see people's criticisms with it. Like, I loved them, and it was hard for me to understand why other people didn't. And it took me a minute to really be able to see, like, all right, I can understand why that moment might have fallen flat for you, or why, you know, this storyline might not have made sense for you. So this movie is going to have to be almost the opposite, where, like, when I first left the theater, I was jazzed about it. I was like, wow, this movie was great. There was just a couple things that were iffy. Then I've had time to sit and think. And the longer I've had to sit and think, the less I like the movie. So it's like, I think I need to just go... Like, I need to go see it again, and like, you know, and try to go into it. Have you just seen it the once? I've just seen it the once. Oh, just the one time.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it 3 times now.
I'm gonna go see it again, and I'm hoping that when I see it again, it's not gonna, like, I'm hoping it's gonna do the opposite effect, where I can be like, all right, yeah, I really did love these things about the movie, and even though these things weren't great, I can still live with it because these things were okay. And like I said, in the moment, I had a lot of fun. Like, it was a fun movie to watch. Like, I enjoyed the experience. And like I said, I had some genuine, like, there was a moment where I legit, like, stood up in the theater and was like straight up hollering, like I was like in an X-Wing myself. You know what I mean? Like, I had a good time watching the movie, and it was fun to go with friends. And, you know, the whole thing for me with Star Wars is that, like,
shared experience.
You know, it's a shared experience, exactly. Like, everyone in the theater is just as nerdy as you. And
yeah, seeing it with Jared and Will was special. Even if it had sucked, I would have been stoked about that for sure.
Exactly. So it was just like, that was, and like, we started chatting with like the people around us, and you know, it was nice to hear their theories about what we were about to see, and you know, it was nice to like kind of you know, just like, you know, hang out with other Star Wars fans, because for the most part, you know, that's why we even made this whole channel, is just a way to be able to talk about Star Wars as frequently as we possibly can. So, you know, that experience in itself was awesome, and I love that, and I'll always go see a Star Wars movie for almost that, just for that. And like I said, there was tons of things in the movie itself that I love, but I've been waiting to talk about all the things that are driving me crazy. But like
I'm gonna find you that article, because I think you would like it. Even if you didn't like the movie, I think you'd like the article. I'll find it for you.
And like I said, I'm willing to change my opinions on The Last Jedi. Like I said, if I see it again, and then again, because I plan on seeing it, you know, more than a couple times, like, you know, I'm more than willing. Like, I'm not going to be stuck in my ways. I'm like, nope, this is what I think, and this is just how it is. Like, if I watch it again and something, like, redeems itself to me, that's perfectly fine. Because, like I said, it's Star Wars, and it changes over time.
No, that's why I'm excited that you disagree with me, because I know that, I mean, for both of us, that we're relatively open-minded people, and, you know, that we can watch it and think of it differently after having watched it more than once. Like I said, I didn't really like it the first time. I liked parts of it a lot, and then I just didn't like other parts almost more than I did like the other parts, if that makes sense. I disliked it more than I liked it. And after rewatching it, I liked it just way, way more, like not even comparable. It went from being as bad as Attack of the Clones to me, which is my least favorite, to being, you know, up there with the best of them. So I just, I'm really excited to keep watching it and keep seeing what there is to learn from it. But I had to kind of take a step back and think to myself, like, what did I expect, and how much is what I expected defining what I think of it? Because if I don't like it only because I expect it to be something else, you know, that's not fair. So I'm really excited to keep watching it. Because that's definitely why I didn't like it the first time. Is only because I had expected this tone that was nowhere to be found, and I was like, wow, I really hate that they. Then I was like, well, what didn't I like? And there wasn't much. Like the boob thing, I hated. I don't like the opera lady on Canto Bite. I don't like I don't like the drunk alien guy. There's a lot that I thought was stupid.
Canto Bite was a letdown, honestly.
Yeah, oh, big time. That was terrible.
Pretty, but other than that, it was bad. It was a waste of 45 minutes.
I didn't even think it was too human. Like when we saw it, I was like, it looks too human to me. Like I don't. And even though
that's the point. Humans are the worst. I think that's the whole political point behind it. But I will say that when they said you're gonna find this high roller, he's super swanky. He's good at everything. He's got a red rose. I was like, oh, cool, Lando. And then Lando wasn't there. I was pissed. And then I really did like Benicio del Toro, though. I'm curious to know if you liked him at all as a character.
I didn't. I did not. I thought it was weird. I thought the stutter was odd.
I thought it was interesting. I thought he was acting it differently from what other actors would have acted. I thought it was an interesting role. I thought it was. I should rephrase that. I thought it was that the character itself was interesting, but we didn't get enough time to really figure him out. He's for sure coming back. I think he's what Han could have been in New Hope if he was a jerk. Like if Han had never come back on the Death Star fight, when he shoots Vader or Vader's wingman, like that. This is Han. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that I don't know. It's kind of cool that he doesn't care.
Comes back and we get to see more of him. I'd like him more. I think I just didn't get to see enough of him, and the part that I did get to see of him was a part of the storyline that I kind of felt like because he was attached to the storyline that I didn't
worst
really
part.
like him most.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was like, he's part of the worst part, so I have to decide if I like him at all. And it's kind of I
felt like, because as much as I love Finn as a character, I mean, I love Finn.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, wow, like.
That was a waste. It was only because they had to put him in the movie.
Finn is such a cool character too, and it's like he was just wasting his time.
It was disappointing.
I didn't like Rose very much either, and I wanted to.
Her whole thing, like that whole thing didn't
terrible.
make sense to me. Like it was like this whole big thing of like, we need to like kind of like not have these like we need to not save like one to be able to like
right out. We gotta save them all.
We have to think out for so we have to look out for like the greater good, not like everybody and this and that. And then she completely throws it away to like save one person. And it's like that was the opposite of what we were talking about. Of like
I thought she was kind of useless.
Yeah, I thought that she was only. I was right about what she was gonna be, and it was like her love interest to Finn. Like I almost remember saying like I'm pretty sure she's gonna be Finn's love interest.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened. So I was like, that's almost what it felt like.
So we know you hated the Luke part, and you didn't like Rey very much. You liked the throne room, I guess. What was your favorite part of the movie? Either action sequence or just meaningfulness?
I have two favorite parts. So, like, my favorite part overall had to be the moment with Kylo, and it's such a weird moment, but the moment with Kylo in the elevator, where after he gets talked to by Snoke,
he breaks his mask.
That was a good scene.
I like that scene too.
Away from trying to be his grandpa.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where I knew he was totally gone. He's bad now.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could see the frustration, and you could see like you could almost see the dark side like taking over at that point. You know what I mean? So there was that, and then the other part that I really enjoyed, and I know a lot of people didn't really like it, but I thought the part with the porgs and Chewie was funny.
I like the porgs a lot. I know a lot of people don't,
but the porgs are awesome.
I thought it was funny where he's like about to go eat it, and the porg's like staring at him.
Dude, when the porg's jumping on the lightsaber, I've seen that scene like 4 times, and every time I see him, like, oh god, it's so funny. I like the porgs a lot too.
I thought that was funny. I thought, and they played the exact purpose that once again that I thought they were going to play, which is to like.
Oh yeah, they're to sell teddy bears, for sure.
Just like they're just like Chewie's little buddy.
They
in this
actually
one.
did
And,
more than I thought they were gonna do. Like they were in way more of the movie than I thought they would be.
I thought it was hilarious that they had basically just moved into the Falcon.
The Falcon, they just took over.
Yeah, they just took over the Falcon. And
that
like I
was
said,
funny.
I thought it was so cute that they were like friends with Chewie because, like I said, up to this point, I mean, we've known Chewie as Han's Han's sidekick, like Han's.
We haven't seen his soft
buddy.
side though, yeah.
And so, yeah, exactly. So it was nice to see, like, it was just nice to see Chewie having someone to interact with and, like, still seeing that, like,
somebody to care for. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to see Chewie's piloting skills too. Like,
Oh my god, that scene inside Crate was so sick.
Oh,
yeah, we forget
man.
that Chewie's a great pilot. Like, I
Yeah.
forget
He's the
that
goat.
he's actually like a fantastic
That was really
pilot.
cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I actually liked
that was
everything to do with Kylo. I thought when, I know Jared keeps making fun of it, but the part where he says, "Shoot that piece of junk out of the sky," like I really liked that part.
I love that.
whole scene
I
with
agree
Falcon
with you.
was awesome.
Kylo was my favorite part of the movie, and I know that's so.
The throne room too, man. That throne room was out
that
of
was the
this
best.
world.
That
But
was such a
Kylo got
great
murked in
scene.
that scene. I think that's easy to overlook. Is that Kylo was toast unless Rey wasn't. I mean,
Unless
except for the
Rey
fact that Rey
hadn't
was
pulled
there.
off that amazing dude. I literally I had the whole theater hyped because that move where she drops the saber
and catches it
and
again,
then picks it back up. I immediately jumped out of my seat. Was like, hell yeah! Like the rest of the theater like stood up and we were like freaking out, like holy shit! Like it was so effing cool.
Yeah.
Like that point, I was like, that was dope. Like that's why I love Star Wars.
And when he
Moments
catches
like that.
it and pokes through the dude's cabeza head, that was crazy too.
Oh my god, that was awesome. That was so dope. It was so cool.
It was really
that part
cool.
to me was incredible. Like I said, if it was like, those scenes, things like that, I still I loved those parts. They were really great and they made the movie fun. Like I said,
Those parts were among the
better
better parts of Star Wars in general. Like the equivalent of those parts that they, stand above. And
exactly.
I didn't not like what you didn't like, which is weird to me because I thought we were gonna have really similar opinions. So it's cool that you hated so much about it that I really, really loved. But but it's also cool to know that you can at least take a step back and say, oh, this part I really liked, and not only did I really like it, but I can get stoked talking about it because I thought that the throne room was just unbelievable.
I
thought the first
really cool.
the first fight scene when Poe puts his arm against the windshield and then whips his X-wing around, I thought that was so sick.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
I liked most of it. There was a bit I didn't like. I thought it was cool when Luke spearfished that fish out of the ocean. I thought that was awesome.
That was awesome. That was really cool. And also I'll have to say, the other part that I was really into was Luke when not Luke. Oh god, now I'm trying to remember it. It was either Luke or Rey. But the other part I was really into was when, Chewie and Luke finally, met back up and things like that. And then when you see, that moment, and I mean, this goes without saying, but, I just thought it was really powerful, the moment between Luke and
R2?
Leia, where he says, that moment where he says, oh, even when people
no
are
one's
gone,
lost forever, yeah. And he gives her the dice. He kisses her forehead. Oh my god. When he kisses her forehead, I was just weeping.
Obviously, I know that got to everybody, but, I was really holy crap, that. Because it's I keep thinking to myself, because I don't know, because I haven't seen any special features or anything like that, so I don't know if they planned that moment, and then it just so happened that she passed away, or she passed away, and then they put that moment into the movie.
No, they had already, that was already in it.
And that's and to me, it makes it
that's
so
even
much
crazier.
more
yeah, I agree.
So much more the line itself, and seeing that it's these two characters.
Yeah.
And not just these two characters, but it's Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher.
Right, absolutely.
And having that on-screen moment live forever, I was holy crap, that's really heavy stuff, and it's awesome. That's really awesome
when he kissed her forehead, I lost it. And also when R2 showed up, I was like, oh cool, R2 and Luke are together. And then he played the original recording. Oh my god,
yeah,
I was just weeping.
That got me. When he played when he was how there's nothing you can say that's gonna
help
make
me,
go.
I was like, are you serious? I totally forgot that existed, and then here R2 is just showing.
I forgot that R2 still had it.
Right.
That's what made me laugh the most, is that R2 still had that in his system, and that like you said, there was a couple moments where I legitimately teared up, and those were 2 times where I would like when that played, I was like, oh man, that got me, because like it brought me back immediately to that like sitting in the couch with my mom as a little boy, like obsessed with
your mom as a little
Star
boy.
Wars, and, like when I was a little boy. Yeah, you did.
You were getting emotional about
it was
Leia.
just like when it was like that part was great, and it really hit home. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like there's a lot more to talk about, and I want to like over the next couple weeks, I want to try to dive into specific parts about the movie. Like we've obviously talked about like our broad view of it, and there's stuff that I still haven't even covered or talked about that I actually did really enjoy, like little small things here and there that I'd like to get more into detail about. And not only that, but I would love to explore this idea of how the Force is now so much more different than we have known it to be. Like,
I don't know that the
it's
Force is
completely
different,
changed.
or if the users are just different. Like the people who are using
I'm
it
sorry,
back in the day got trained
Yeah.
on how to use it. Like they knew these rules and these limits, and
Right.
it was not this raw power. Everyone around now, like Rey, I thought Rey's scene where she was talking about what the Force does was so cool, because Luke was like, well, everything you just said is totally wrong. And I think that they both went through this time where, like, the Force is, like, to whatever they want it to be. Like, Rey says people use the Force, and obviously we know the Force is using people, if anything. But
Yeah.
it just goes to show that, you know, without the Jedi Academy and without Masters and Padawans and all that stuff, the Force can be really volatile and a natural power, like a, you know, like something that you don't have any understanding of, let alone control.
Right.
And
So
I think that was part of
more-
the point of it.
Definitely. I think it's more like, I think what I mean is more, it's like our understanding of the Force has changed. At least my understanding of how the Force works has changed a bit. And not only that, but like, I definitely feel like the whole idea of light side and dark side has been muddled throughout this movie.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
agree.
not
I think
quite-
that the lines have blurred a little bit, and that I think part of the point is, like, maybe the good versus bad isn't the important part of Star Wars, where it's more human than that. And and
that's why I like
it's
Kylo's
kind of cool
story so
because
much.
I'm excited to go back and watch the other ones with that in mind. Like, knowing what can happen in Last Jedi and rewatching things like the prequels or the original trilogy and understanding it from that perspective, I think is going to be kind of interesting. I just don't have time to watch Star Wars right now, but I think that part's going to be pretty cool. I will say I'm curious to know, and I know we have to go, but I thought that Phasma was the worst thing ever. Phasma and Hux I hate so much, and I get like the whole point is like, you don't know how powerful these guys are. Watch it, just wait. They're probably gonna murk somebody, and they both are just so useless. I did like.
So Hux,
I know
expected Hux to be a little punk, just because, like I said, his childhood is a big part of the Aftermath storyline.
Right.
So I was expecting him to be kind of a punk. I was so waiting for the redemption of Captain Phasma. Like, all right, here we go. Like, new movie. We're gonna see her way more than we did the last time.
Yeah,
and
it's funny because she was terrible. I'm not mad that she was
moment.
terrible, but she was terrible. Like, it's not disappointing to me that she was, but she's such a bad character.
She was terrible. She was such a terrible character. And then that moment where she's like, "You're scum," and he's like, "Rebel scum," and it's just like, oh.
See, I really like that. I was about to say that's one of my favorite parts. I thought that. I know it's corny.
He calls her a chrome dome.
Yeah, that's what they call the Shredder.
It's like, all right, come on, chrome dome.
Yeah, it's like,
and I was just like,
Shredder.
Did he just say chrome dome?
That part I agree with, but when he says Rebel Scum, I actually really like it. I know it's super corny, but I like that part a lot.
I don't know. I think it was more Phasma than him, but I just wasn't into Phasma. Like, I felt her. I'm like, she's such a punk. Like, this whole time, she's supposed to be like, all right, like, she got thrown in a trash compactor. Here she comes back to, like, whatever. And the first scene we see you when you're finally back, you get your butt handed to you.
No, I think
have,
that scene was the one scene that was sort of wedged into the movie to be your typical, like, here we go, and it was just so bad. I did like Finn's Rebel Scum line though, and I think that I really hope they do Finn less dirty in the new one, because Finn they just didn't treat his character very well in this one. He was a throwaway character. Literally anybody could have done what Finn did, He didn't do anything finish.
Exactly.
And
I mean, I think the only thing that I feel like there was a moment where, and like I said, maybe it's they dropped the ball, maybe I'm just not seeing it right, but like that moment where Finn was about to like kind of abandon and jump ship.
Yeah.
You know, like she was kind of like, oh, you can't do that, and I thought that his storyline was going to be more about this struggle between, you know, still.
Yeah.
Like not being a part of the resistance and trying to make that choice of is he on the good side or does he just want to survive?
I think it was like that too, because Benicio del Toro was like, oh, you know, there's no good guys and bad guys, there's just money and war.
Exactly.
And Finn was like, ooh, you're right, that might mean something. And then 5 minutes later, he's like, rebel scum. So I guess he made that decision at some point, but I just don't think they really. It didn't feel that momentous. I agree.
Exactly. They didn't. I don't feel like they explored it as much as they could, or
no,
maybe
Finn was a big fat waste. Finn and Poe wasn't as big a waste because he was more integral to what happened in the movie. Like the movie wouldn't have happened without Poe. But I feel like Poe did stuff that like was just straight stupid. Like he was like he would be court-martialed. Like he was not a good. You know, soldier or pilot or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, the whole mutiny thing really threw me through a loop. I was like, and then when Leia showed up and then shot him, I was like, well, thank you. Like,
right. I've been waiting on somebody to do that. Be
like, oh, good job. I'm like, finally, somebody like put the dude down. I'm like, like.
I don't understand why what's her face was excited
the whole time.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why she was surprised when he mutinized. Like she was like, oh. This guy's gonna be my downfall. Like you already knew that. You talked to him at the beginning. Like
why would you not just tell them?
Right. Well, that part I can get because you gotta. Why? Because it's a strategy thing. They explain it in the movie. I can't remember it right now, but they say like, when they're leaving, like you can't have them knowing what's gonna happen. Like the fewer people know, the better.
Can't have Poe, the commander in your army, know the
not
plan.
When he's just shown. Not when he's just shown that he can't obey orders and that he's rash.
You know what, I can't. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I think
he got every single bomber killed.
He's not very trustworthy.
And then he finds out the plan. He's like, oh, that's a good plan. That's
I wish I had known that. I would have been less stupid this whole time.
Yeah, I would have been less of an ass the entire movie.
Right. I really thought that he was kind of worthless, and Finn's not worthless, but his story was. Whereas Poe's story was useful, but his character was worthless.
I felt like they did Finn a little dirty in this movie. I won't lie.
For sure.
I felt like they didn't give my boy.
No, and I'm really like I know that the conspiracy theorists out there are all like, oh, you know, they're just leveraging SJW agendas and minorities into Star Wars and stuff. But, I mean, that was a throwaway storyline. And I wish that, even if he and Poe had switched places, if Finn had Poe's story and Poe had Finn's story, I would be a little bit less disappointed, I think. But it was just... I agree. It wasn't that cool. And I get that he had to fight Phasma and everything. I just... I didn't like Finn's story, which is disappointing because he's one of my favorite parts of the new people.
Yeah, he was definitely. I loved his character. So, but yeah, I knew we were gonna go over in time a little bit on this episode, just because there is so much to talk about with the new movie, and like I said, there's still more to talk about. And like we're saying, like even things like that, like Finn's storyline and specific scenes, and
will you have seen it again before we talk again?
The next time we talk again, I will have seen it again. So, we'll see if anything changes for me. I'm not expecting it not to. I'm almost expecting things to change a little bit the next time I see it. So we'll see. I'm going into it, like I said, with like not the idea of, well, I'm just gonna stick to my guns. Like I want to like. That's the thing about The Last Jedi. I want to like it. Like I want to enjoy it. I want to find things about it that I like, because I never want to not like a Star Wars movie. So it's like there's things I want to like it. So when I watch it again, I want to try to see if like you said, if it's that I have expectations and I'm just basing my whatever off those expectations, or this movie just really didn't do certain things for me and that's why I didn't like it. You know what I mean? So
we'll have to try to see it together at some point.
Yeah, we do. When I first left the theater, I I was like, oh, you know what? I really liked it, but these things were weird. And then, like I said, the more time I've had to sit with it, the more I'm like, I don't know if I like it that much. But like I said, I haven't seen it again, so
Right.
I'll go watch it
Yeah,
again.
I thought you
and
had
see
seen it
what I
at
feel
least
from it.
twice. I didn't realize you only saw
No,
it the one
I've
time.
been working a lot. Like, I actually have to.
I knew you
like,
weren't at
I
the
will-
movie with us. I was like looking around for you. I was like, where's
No, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. I thought
I
I'd
knew
be
you.
able
I
to, but I
told
couldn't
you
make
you
it.
weren't gonna make it.
I couldn't make it. I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time to get there.
You know what sucks is none of those games that we played counted for me.
That is
sucks.
funny. I mean, that
Oh,
does
did it
suck.
boot you? That sucks. But yeah, guys. So my phone died, so I wasn't able to keep up with the chat. But we did have a lot more people on today than we usually do, which is awesome because I knew today
Subscribe.
was going to be a discussion that a lot of people wanted to get into. We're going to be talking more and more about The Last Jedi, and not just about The Last Jedi, but now that it's here, we're going to be talking a lot more now about how The Last Jedi.
Oh, bye, Chaz.
Bye, Chaz.
Well, I'll sign off for us. I think that we went long, but there's a lot to talk about when the new Star Wars comes out, and
Yeah,
it's
or
a
30
polarizing experience. There's a lot to go over that we liked. There's a lot to go over that we
Sorry
didn't
about
like.
that.
Oh, hey, Chaz.
Sorry, I got my added net.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, so there's a lot still to go over. There's a lot to talk about with I said not just The Last Jedi, but all of Star Wars. And now that we have another movie, there's like, you know, we can start tying in past into this new movie. So it's exciting because much more to talk about now. Star Wars, lore-wise, which is cool. And like I said, I can't wait to start talking about how this movie explored the dark side a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because I definitely loved I did love that aspect of the movie. Like I said, that was one of my favorite parts, was Kylo's story and his descent into the dark side and how it was very similar to
It's so
Vader's,
cool.
but it was unique in its own way. It was it was definitely unique, but it did have a similar, kind of line to Vader's, but it was awesome. Like I thought they did a great job with that at least. So, but yeah, guys, I will, like I said, I will have seen the movie again before we talk the next time. So we're gonna rehash some of the points we made this time. See if maybe I've changed my mind on anything. Let us know what you guys think. If you're new to the discussion, thanks for joining. Please subscribe. We talk every week on Wednesday. And it's, like I said, it's about Star Wars every week. So, and now we have so much more to talk about. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter and all that fun stuff. Facebook at Talking Sith. I am Chaz, and I'm joined by Adam and Jared every week. Thanks, guys, for arguing with me for a while. I appreciate it.
I just feel bad for you.
Bye, everybody. Hold on, I can't.